Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at @It'sJessino. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. I know I'm a little bit slow on the Euro content. I'm sorry. It's been taking me like a long time to get into it. I've been watching the games, but I was like, should I be doing these previews? Should I be doing this? But I'm going to do them. So here we are. And so the first preview that I'm going to be doing is for the game tomorrow, for Germany versus Portugal. Let me get that out. Germany versus Portugal. So another blockbuster game. It should be a game that has a lot of action, we're hoping, and a lot of good players playing against each other. I mean, what could go wrong? So, yep, we're going to be doing a short preview, nothing too serious. And I have a guest with me who's actually a United fan, but it's nice. We're not going to be talking about United and Arsenal. We're going to be talking about this game, and he's a Germany fan. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, and that's Mr. Mraaronutd. Yay! Hey, how are you?
Hi, Jessica. I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So not talking Arsenal or Manchester United, which should be nice, a little bit relaxing, not stressful. So it's nice. But how have you been enjoying the Euros and taking a little bit of a break from your club team for the summer?
It's honestly been so refreshing. Just seeing, it's just stress-free football, man. Honestly, just watching teams play for their countries and see the players give everything for their country and play with pride and with joy. And so far, I've enjoyed the tournament, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing more games. And if I have to be honest, I don't want it to stop, because as soon as that's done, we're back to the usual headaches. So.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not even going to lie. It's still been a little bit stressful on this side of things, but the games have been surprisingly competitive and good, and a lot of energy from the very beginning, which is kind of, that's not really the norm. Usually the group games could be a little bit boring, but some of these games have been so good that I'm just like, wow, like we're so lucky to be able to watch these games,
That's true.
Yeah. So let's start out with, I think this group, the group of death with France and Germany and Portugal has been, a big conversation point for the last couple of weeks, because it's so rare that you have such good teams all in one group. You would probably in normal circumstances want them spread out, but that means that we get to see big clashes really early. Mm-hmm. So for you, what were your expectations of Germany coming into the tournament, knowing that they were going to be facing, really strong sides in Portugal and France really early on in this competition?
My expectations weren't really that high, because in fairness, I just wanted to play a good tournament. I wanted to come into the tournament with a positive result, because, as people will know, and I'm sure you know as well, the World Cup 2018 was an absolute disaster. Crashed out the group stages as the reigning champions. And, we were victim of this famous curse as well. Every world champion crashes out in the group stages of the following World Cup. So we were victims of that. We had to start rebuilding the squad. Some of the older players got frozen out, and we gave the chance to younger players. Can I say that really worked out? yes and no, because some of the young players that came through managed to step up to the plate and actually solidify their spots as starters. I'm thinking of the likes of Serge Gnabry, who was brought through and immediately solidified his spot because he just kept scoring game after game after game. Leroy Sané got brought back after he was left at home in the 2018 World Cup, which in hindsight was a good thing because I didn't want him to be part of this whole mess that we were in 2018. So he came in a fresh, new, young squad. And obviously you got the likes of Werner, the likes of Havertz, who are Champions League winners. So it was a good thing to bring these guys through and give them the chance to have that experience of playing for their country as well. But I also think that, the manager was under huge amounts of pressure to bring back some of the older guys because they had such good seasons that it was basically impossible to leave them out. I think it would have been a scandal if the manager left Hummels at home, if he left Müller at home. It wouldn't have been a good look. And I think you're right, because this group, which is named the group of death as well, I think he looked at the group and he was like, okay, he looked at Portugal, Cristiano Ronaldo, and now it's not just Cristiano and the rest, it's actually Cristiano Ronaldo and other quality players. They've got a good squad. You look at France, amazing squad. They just won the World Cup and managed to bring Benzema back. I think he looked at this and went, nah, you know what? I need some firepower here. So I think he made the right decision. He made the right call in bringing back the likes of Müller and Hummels. So yeah, my expectations are not that high, but I just want to play a good tournament. I want to see that mixture of experience and youth with the older guys showing the younger guys how it's done and guiding them so that they can be the next generation to bring the other young guys through in a few years.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I kind of, when I was doing my predictions, I was saying that although I think Germany is going to, maybe they're definitely not the Germany of old. Like, I think everybody can kind of, agree on that. But yeah. I would still expect them to go through as a third place team in the group and at the very least and make a good showing. I think it's really difficult to see them up against Portugal and France. Mm-hmm. and feel like they should be winning those games. I'm interested to see how they play against like Hungary, to see what the level is there and maybe get them against maybe lower level competition in the next round, in the round of 16, maybe, to see what they could do, because I still think there's quality there. It's just not the same that we're used to. And I think all teams go through these in-between periods. It's very rare that a team doesn't go through a little bit of a drop off, so. But there's still good players, But just talking about Portugal for a second, expectations are high. Reigning Euros champions, Cristiano Ronaldo, you're always, if you have a world-class player like that in your team, you're always going to be expected to probably do pretty well. A lot of depth in that squad. That's definitely something that I looked at from Germany, and I thought that maybe that was a little bit of a gap between the two teams. The quality of the depth is definitely different. You have players like Renato Sanchez and Andre Silva and these kind of guys that can come off the bench and make a difference for you. So when you watch Portugal play their first game against Hungary, were you surprised that even with the players that they had, that it took until like the 85th minute for them to break through?
I was surprised. And, I watched the game with a few of my friends and I was telling them that it's a bit sad, in my opinion, to see such a talented Portugal squad. Because like I said, years back or years before, it just would have been Cristiano and the rest. You had one or two good players, but the rest wasn't really up to their level. Now, it's not just Cristiano, it's Bernardo Silva, it's Renato Sanchez, like you mentioned, Andre Silva, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva. The list goes on and on and on. And if you can afford to not even bring on Joao Felix, that means you have a squad stacked full of talent. But I still feel like they're very much dependent on Cristiano Ronaldo, which is a bit of a shame, because if he retires in a few years, I feel like they're massively going to suffer from it. So I feel like now is the time to already create those combinations and those bonds between each other and to prepare for Cristiano's exit in a few years. So I wasn't surprised that it took him this long, because tactically and when it comes to like playing football throughout the game, Portugal didn't really offer much, to be honest, despite having so much talent on the pitch, and sometimes the decision-making was a bit off. I'm thinking of the chance in the first half where Jota just literally could have given it to Cristiano, but he chose to go himself. I don't know, man. There's something weird with Portugal that I just worry about, despite them having world-class players. I don't know what it is, but I just doubt them a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I think both teams struggle offensively, as crazy as that sounds. I don't think Portugal, even in the last Euro, scored very many goals. It was very much like 1-0 all the way through kind of thing,
Yeah.
So they struggle to score goals. And when I looked at Germany in their last game played a 3-4-2-1, to me, that's quite defensive. And then when you look at Portugal 4-2-3-1, but they played with Pereira and Carvalho in the double pivot. So I think maybe in the next games, if you want to change formations and look at different players, maybe you look to be a little bit more offensive. So from your knowledge of Germany, before, we switch back and talk about Portugal, what maybe formation changes or personnel changes can can the coach make to make them more dangerous going forward? You look at the combination of Havertz and Mueller and Gnabry, and it just didn't feel like they were ever going to score. Is there something that, somebody on the bench or somebody, that was already on the pitch that maybe can move into a different position to get some more offense going forward?
You know what? For the next game, I would switch back to a back four because the back three, I've just not been convinced by it yet. It might take me a while because I know this manager's stubborn and he's going to carry on playing it till he goes because he's going at the end of the competition. But I would switch back to a back four. I think not having Kimmich in midfield against France was a massive, massive miss. Despite us having Gundogan and Toni Kroos in midfield, I feel like switching back to a back four, 2 double pivots, and then 3 attacking and 1 up front is probably going to be the best thing for us because we have the players to do that. We have the quality to do that. And I just think the 3 at the back, I'm just not secure about it. Not because we don't have the quality, but because it just doesn't feel like something Germany would do and a formation Germany would play with. But like I said, maybe it's just going to take a while to get used to it. But I've just not been convinced by the back 3. So I would just switch back to a back 4 and create from midfield. And like you mentioned, Danilo and Carvalho. For me, I was surprised that Portugal played that formation with them 2 players in those positions because they're both tall, both strong, but also both very slow. So if you put someone that's gonna, run them ragged, let's say, and like a very tenacious player, someone who's quick, someone who's physical, it can cause problems. So try and find someone that can play in that hole in the number 10 position. If it was me, I would play Gundogan in that position and then play Cruz and Kimmich as the 2 6s. Right. And yeah, we can create problems. So that's what I would go for. Like the back 3, I just don't know. It just doesn't feel right for me.
I would be really disappointed if Germany played a back 3 against, Portugal, knowing that you're basically just going to be marking Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Like you're really not looking at, 3 players just standing on top of the center backs. It's very much going to be late runs from Bruno Fernandes, runs, from Diego Jota, but mostly in terms of marking in the box, in and around the box. You would just imagine that 2 center backs should be able to handle, Cristiano Ronaldo. So I'd be a little bit, like, what are you doing if you continue to play with this back 3? Yeah. But I also look at somebody like Gosens, and I'm wondering, is he a natural left back? Can he play in a back 4?
He can play in a back 4, definitely. But I think he's been playing that left wing back position for so long that you could kind of say he is not used to playing left back, but he could.
Okay, and who plays up top then? Don't have. It almost feels like Germany needs Lewandowski or something like that to get through this game.
I wish he was German. Trust me, I really wish. At the front, I would probably, because they interchange so much, you can't really say this guy plays up front as a recognized number 9. So I would just go for Havertz in. That's a good question because now you got me thinking. I'd probably play Müller up front, but then he's dropping in deep and then allowing the wingers to then make the runs in behind. So I'd probably say Müller up top and then Gnabry on the right, Havertz in the middle, and Havertz in the 10, and Sane on the right.
Sane, that's an interesting one. I've been looking at him like, wow, you've fallen off a little bit, but still
He
a quality
has.
player, but he feels like he's fallen off, but I just feel like maybe a Sane, Gnabry on the wings,
Yeah.
type of situation. Like just play them in their natural positions so it feels more natural. It feels forced and like they're not flowing correctly. It just feels very like stiff. And I do agree with you about the pivot with Kroos and Kimmich makes so much more sense to bolster the midfield. I think Kimmich is wasted out there on the right, playing almost like a right back. Put him in the midfield, get Gundogan, playing balls in between the lines, making late runs into the box, and see what happens. I do think, like you said, that could really cause Portugal some issues. And you also have to think about the fact that the box for Portugal, they're four, the two sitting in the pivot, which they will play like that again. I think the coach is pretty stubborn.
Yeah.
You're going to play Carvalho and Danilo. You're going to play Ruben Diaz, who's not really that quick, plus Pepe. You can get some quick players in behind. I think you guys can do something,
Definitely, yeah. I think that's going to be one thing to exploit. If you put the wingers, you play the players in the natural positions, like you said, Gnabry and Sane, they can cause problems. You just let them run in behind, and Diaz and Pepe, they're going to struggle. And one thing about Pepe as well, you can get into his head very quickly. Last time he played Portugal, I think it was in 2014 in the World Cup. That was our opening game. And the players managed to get into his head. And then he went head-to-head against Müller, headbutted him, and then got sent off. So that's probably one of the things you can think about as well. Get into Pepe's head quickly because he's aggressive. He's going to be in your face, these kind of things.
100%. You guys, if you're in the chat box, let us know, and also like the video and subscribe to the channel. So just moving on to Portugal, you're obviously a Manchester United fan, so you watch a lot of Bruno Fernandes, and there was a lot of conversation around the last game, and was Bruno being used properly? In the Premier League, we're used to him making late runs into the box and being almost like playing off of the striker in a way. And it just seemed like he was so far away from Cristiano Ronaldo, sometimes playing triangles with Bernardo Silva off on the right, which doesn't really seem like that's his natural, where he would be most dangerous. How do you think Portugal could use Bruno Fernandes a little bit better to help facilitate or even unlock Cristiano Ronaldo in this next game? Because I feel like a Manchester United fan would know that the best, because you guys get the best out of Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah. As weird as it sounds, like what he does for us is very good for his numbers because he scores a lot of goals. But the fact that he's pushing up high so many times, sometimes he's even higher than our striker, whether it be Martial or Cavani. So sometimes we're having a huge hole in midfield because he's pushing up so high. So if you want to get the best out of him, I would say just play him the way he plays at Manchester United, because with Portugal, he's got a much more reserved role. He's much more disciplined because I think the manager wants him to do that. That's why you see him on the right sometimes, combining with other players. You see him on the left. And like you said, he's far away from Cristiano Ronaldo, which you don't want. You want him to be feeding Cristiano. If you want anyone to put in those balls through for him, it's Bruno Fernandes. So I would say play him the way he plays for Manchester United. But then you're taking the risk of leaving a huge hole in midfield, which is what the manager probably knows, and he doesn't do it.
So obviously Germany loses their first game. What's the reaction from the German fan base, German supporters, if you guys were to not get anything from this game tomorrow? Even though you're not favorites, 2 losses on the trot like that wouldn't be good for optics' sake,
Yeah, absolutely. If we lose this game tomorrow, a part of the German fans would be obviously angry and disappointed. But the other part wouldn't really be surprised, because I'm part of those fans. I'm on the side of fans that said after our World Cup in 2018, the manager should have left, to be honest. He should have resigned and said, listen, I've been here since 2005, 2006 or 7, I think. I've done what I could. I won the World Cup. We went far in the Euros, always reached at least the quarterfinals or semi-finals. I've done my job. I resigned. That's it. But he was very stubborn. He stayed, wanted to do the rebuild. And I'm not trying to blame him here because he's done so much for us, but I think a part of the fans would be angry and disappointed, but the other part wouldn't be surprised because, like we both mentioned here already, he is very stubborn. Like, he doesn't really listen to what's being said. outside of his camp, or even in his own camp by his coaching staff. Like he rarely communicates with his coaching staff. Like he's got his own ideas and he very much sticks to them. So yeah, if we lose the game tomorrow, obviously I'll be disappointed, but I wouldn't be surprised because I know how the manager is.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just because I'm not privy to this type of information. Like I always know what it would feel like, if I don't know, the United States or somebody lost. But, it's different for the actual fans, because if you're looking at it and you're kind of like, well, we're not supposed to win, coming third in the group, maybe, or whatever. And knowing that Hansi Flick is going to come in next, I think he's the right guy for the job from what I've seen from Bayern. Maybe he needs to get away from what do I want to call it? The club side of football is definitely different than the national side. You don't have to think about transfers and things like that. You could just look at your program and making sure that you guys are developing the right players to come into that team. Are you excited about Hansi Flick being 100%. The next guy to take over?
I can't wait for this guy to come in because I've seen what he done at Bayern Munich. It just clicks. He's one of those managers. It just clicks when he comes in. He'll put an arm around you, but at the same time, he'll be severe with you if he has to. He will play you if you play well, but he will bench you if you don't. So he's got that very good balance within himself, and I love that. And I can't wait for him to start working with the players because I know he's not just going to look at, the senior team, but he's going to look at the younger players as well, the under 21s, who just won the Euros, by the way. Mm-hmm. He's going to look at them as well, bring some of the young people through, nurture them, give them that experience, and I just can't wait for him to come in, honestly. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Hansi Flick coming in.
It's time for a change, 100%. We have a super chat here from Cruz Gunna. Thank you so much for your super chat. He says Germany should be worried about Portugal's Man United style counterattacks with Bruno spraying diagonal passes from deep. And I mean, if we kind of watch the game, Germany versus France was very much so letting Germany have a lot of possession, and they're so dangerous on the counterattack. Is that something that you guys do need to be looking out for? Because naturally Germany wants to control possession, but counterattack is very, very dangerous when you have good players that can run in behind. Is that something that you guys would be worried about maybe?
I would be less worried about Portugal's counterattacks than France's, because France, every time
they have Mbappe,
There you go. There you go. That's the huge difference. With Portugal, I am worried, but less worried, because I do think that they are very wasteful with their chances. Like we've seen with Hungary, it took them a while to score the first goal. So I am worried about their counterattacks, but not as much as I was against France. But we do need to be careful because on their day, any counterattack can be a goal. So we need to be careful with that.
I'm just wondering who's going to concede possession. These are two possession-based teams. Neither one strikes me as a counterattacking team, so it's going to be really interesting to see who decides, we're just going to kind of let them do their thing, because two teams that want to have possession, I don't think it works. I think the best games are the ones that have two different teams that like to do different things. I think that's the best way to go. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens with that. But in terms of Portugal, we've already kind of talked about Germany and the expectation. And, if you guys don't do as well, you're not expected to, so maybe it wouldn't be the end of the world. But Portugal is a team that comes in reigning champions. At first, I think a lot of people were saying it was either them or France, but then you have this other team in Italy coming in that looks really strong, So what's the bare minimum for Portugal? This is such a good team with such good depth. You have Cristiano Ronaldo on your team. They have to get to the final, don't they? Or else it's a failure.
They have to. Purely because they have Cristiano Ronaldo and because they won the last edition of the Euros. So I think there's huge amounts of pressure on Portugal. So I'm kind of glad that we're going into this as underdogs, kind of. Because the pressure won't be on us. We'll be able to play our football. Portugal have to deliver. They have to at least go to the final. If they don't win it, I don't think people will be as disappointed as they probably would be if they hadn't won it a few years back. But they have to go to the final. For me, they have to.
I agree 100%, just for the simple fact that they're the reigning champions and there's just been too much hype. But the Italy side just looks it looks crazy. Like
Looks
they
so
look
solid, yeah.
so crazy. I'm like, I just don't know what's going to happen, but they have to get to the final for sure. And kind of like my last question, just to kind of round things out, is I just want to bring it back to club football just a little bit.
Yeah.
From an Arsenal perspective, it's kind of like I'm watching these games with absolutely no attachment to them whatsoever because we don't really have any players in the Euros, to be honest. But Manchester United does, and the game earlier, Lindelof was playing. Maguire has been injured, but he'll eventually, be back. I don't know if they put out the lineups. I think they did, but he's in the England squad. Bruno Fernandes is playing in a big part of the Portugal side. Pogba has an amazing game for France. He's a big part of that side. How does that make you feel to see like some of your best players doing bits at the Euros? Does that make you proud? Does it make you happy? Proud Papa?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it makes me happy. Look, like you just mentioned Pogba there. I was against him for 90 minutes, but it was so nice to see him comfortable, having fun, putting in good performances and enjoying the game with his teammates. It's such a nice thing to see. And at the same time, you're just thinking, how was it possible that he never was this, that he was never this comfortable with us? How is it that, he never felt so, because when he plays for France, you can tell like he feels free to do whatever he wants, obviously within measures and still respecting the system and the formations and whatever. You just feel like with us, there's so much pressure on him. He's much more tense. Like he feels like he can't do certain things because he'll get criticized left, right, and center. With France, it's just completely different. So as much as I enjoy watching and seeing the United players play for their country and playing well, you just wonder, like, why can they not do the same for us? Even, and he's someone that I criticize a lot. Dan James. Even Dan James is playing well for Wales. He's putting in good performances. They're not perfect, but he's doing his thing. So you're just feeling like, how is it that someone like Dan James plays well for Wales every single time? By the way, it's not once, it's not twice, but it's every single time he plays for Wales, and then he comes back to Manchester United and he's just ghosted, like a completely different player. Like you just wonder. I know the answer. I think it's the manager because I'm not a fan of him. But yeah, it's nice to see all the players that have this attention. Negative attention at Manchester United, the negative comments all the time, and the pressure of the media and the pressure of the pundits. They go play for their country and they're free, and I love to see it, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think it's just Pogba, to be honest. When I watch the French team, I think just in general they have an aura about them where even like somebody like Griezmann, who has a very difficult time at Barcelona, you would think that they just look so happy together. But I do get what you're saying about Pogba. I think there's just something is missing there. There's not a big connection with the Man United, club or whatever it is. And he just feels really connected in a big part of the fabric at France, so,
yeah.
But yeah, he did so well. And like you said, like even Dan James is doing good too. So that must be an interesting, feeling. I don't know what that feels like. We don't have players in the Euros like that. Saka's not even in the lineup. So he's not even in the squad, so I'm just here just like whatever, but the lineups for the England game came out, England versus Scotland. If you want to have a short reaction to that, we can do that really quick before we get out of here.
What's the line? Let me have a look as well.
I'll read it out and then you can look it up if you want. But Pickford starts in goal.
Yeah.
It looks like a back four with Luke Shaw, another one of your players, Tyrone Mings, John Stones, and Reece James. Mason Mount, Declan Rice, and Calvin Phillips. So it's a three in the midfield. Sterling, Kane, and Foden. And on the bench, Harry Maguire, Jack Grealish, Jordan Henderson, Marcus Rashford, Kieran Trippier, Aaron Ramsdale, Connor Cody, Jadon Sancho, Calvert-Lewin, Ben Chilwell, Sam Johnstone, and Jude Bellingham. And for Scotland, Tierney's playing. And Billy Gilmore starts, so that's a big one. A lot of people were interested to see if he would come into the side. Obviously, Andy Robertson plays on a wing back next to Tierney, behind Tierney. Shea Adams starts today, which I think is really important because
very good.
He was good in that second half of their last game, and I think he deserves to start. What is the significance of this game? I mean, there's so much writing on it, even though it's not necessarily like I mean, England should win.
Yeah.
But history, it's really the history, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Obviously, two neighbours. They played against each other in '96, I believe. And, you know, England scored that infamous goal. Paul Gascoigne scored that nice goal back then. So, like you said, the history between those two is just huge. And, yeah, I mean, as a neutral fan, because I'm going to watch this as a neutral fan, it's going to be a good game to watch. And to be honest, as much as England have the quality and the depth to beat Scotland, I think anything can happen. I mean, I live up north in Manchester, it's dry up here, but down south in London, I'm hearing that it's raining, it's a bit windy, so you've got that typical English Premier League weather. So I reckon this game is going to be on a Premier League tempo. It's going to be high intensity, it's going to be quick, very, very fast. And and it's going to be physical. I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a scrap or two during the game. You never know. So, like I said, as much as England can win it based on quality and depth, Scotland can do a thing too. Like, don't count these guys out because, you know, like you said, Tierney's back. That will give them a huge boost. I feel like they have some quality players in their team. Robertson, obviously, in there. I'm a huge fan of John McGinn. I love the guy. Yeah. He's cracking midfielder. I absolutely love him. So
McTominay. I forgot about him. He's playing in the center back.
Oh, they moved him back. Okay.
He's playing as a center back next to Tierney.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they moved him back for a reason because they know what's about to happen. But like I said, Scotland can do a thing in this game. And Che Adams, obviously, I'm a fan of him as well. He can do a thing. He'll probably know the defenders inside out because he plays against them every week in the Premier League. So it'll be an interesting game. As much as England can win it, don't count Scotland out.
Is this the type of formation that England fans are looking for? I just kind of hear like it's just so defensive. It's so defensive. You're playing with, you know, this three at the back and this, you know, having Mount and, you know, Calvin Phillips, although he's more defensive for Leeds, we saw him with kind of like a breakout performance, you know, in the last game. Is this more of probably what England fans are looking for, of a more dynamic, offensive, progressive lineup and formation?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of England fans have been complaining about this back three and the wing backs not making sense. I mean, one of them made sense. I think it was who played wing back in the last game. I can't remember. But the left wing back was Kieran Trippier, which did not make any sense at all. Why bring two left backs with you and then play a right back at left back? Southgate's one of those managers who just does things and it has you scratching your head for no reason. But this is definitely the right formation. I would have tweaked some certain things in terms of personnel. Maybe start someone like a Jack Grealish. He still hasn't played. I mean, give Jadon Sancho some minutes as well. Like, they're in the squad for a reason. I mean, it's not like they've had bad seasons. Jack Grealish, obviously, you know, didn't play large parts of the season due to injury. Sancho was injured as well, but then came back and won a trophy with Dortmund. So these guys are quality. Like, they're not bad players. So you can bring them in and give them some minutes. It would really, really surprise me if Jack Grealish doesn't at least play today. Like, give him 10 minutes. If you don't want to play him, fine, but at least give him 10.
It's almost like because people want him to play, Southgate's like, hell no. Like, that's what it feels like. He's like,
he's another stubborn one. Yeah, he's another stubborn one.
100%. So let's predict some scores. Let's predict the score for the Germany versus Portugal game. What do you have for your score?
I'm going to say 2-1 Germany. I think Cristiano Ronaldo is due a goal against us, and I think he will score. It might be a penalty, probably. But I think we'll get it over the line maybe towards the end. So 2-1 Germany.
Yeah, I predicted chaos in this group. I need it to not be as straightforward as it looks like it's going to be. So I'm actually going to go with 1-0 Germany. I think Portugal will struggle to score, and this is not Hungary. Germany is a much better team. So I think Germany will nick it. I think towards the end of the game against France, it looked like Germany was picking it up. Like they started to look like they could put something together. So maybe they'll keep that going. So I'm going to go with that. And let's do Scotland versus England. What do you have for that game?
Scotland versus England. I'm going to go for a crazy scoreline. I'm going to say 3-2 England.
I mean, that's what we're looking for. Like, we're both neutral, so that's probably what we would want to see. Yeah. You know, wow, I don't know. Let's go with 2-1. I think England will win. I think Scotland will score, but I'm hoping for a couple of fights. some cards,
Oh yeah, definitely.
no injuries to Kieran Tierney. Please. Man is so brittle. If he can get through the game without an injury, that would be a win for me.
Yeah.
But we'll end it there. You guys, thank you so much for showing up and being in the chat box. You guys were live and, having good conversations about the Euros. I know I don't do a lot of Euros content, but I will pick it up. I'll get it together, I promise. So like the video and subscribe to the channel. And Aaron, where can everybody find you on the internet?
My name is right here. There you go. Mraaronutd. You can find me on YouTube and every single social media platform. The name's the same, so it'll be easy for you guys to find me. Yeah, subscribe to my channel. I do stuff on the Euros as well on there. I do watch-alongs for the Copa America as well. So I actually have a live stream tonight, Argentina, Uruguay. So if you want to tune in, come along and let's watch this game together.
Yeah, we have to talk about the Copa America. We have to talk about it. That's like more my zone. Like that's where I've been living for the last couple of days. And Fred, we have to talk about Fred because he's like literally like a real life starter in this team now. It's crazy. We can talk about that.
He's another one that just looks completely different with Brazil. Like he actually plays like a Brazilian. The way he plays for us, he plays like God knows what. So it's just weird to see that, honestly.
It's hilarious. Okay, so we'll talk about that next time. But all right, you guys, I'll be back at 2 p.m. UK time to do a review of 2 p.m. my time, 10 p.m. your guys' time. Okay. So I'll be back to do a review on the Scotland-England game, and we'll also do a little bit of Arsenal talk because we have to weave that in. Apparently, we have 250 million to spend. I don't know where that's coming from, but hey, We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So, all right, you guys, I'll see you guys at 10 p.m. UK time, and yeah, bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.